Living with constant arguments, Emma made a desperate choice after her latest dizzy spell, pretending to lose her hearing. For 2 months, she lived in a world of silence, watching her husband transform into the caring man she'd married. That evening, forgetting her phone in the office, she overheard a conversation that made her blood run cold. The truth you're about to discover will change everything you think about marriage. Marriage is often called a dance between two hearts, but sometimes that dance is more of a carefully choreographed performance. For Emma Mitchell, it took pretending to lose one sense to finally see the truth about her marriage. 5 years earlier, Emma and Tom's wedding had been the talk of the business community. The grand ballroom of the Riverside Hotel had been transformed into a fairy tale setting, with crystal chandeliers casting a warm glow over the gathering of business elite and family friends. She was the daughter of James Carter, owner of Carter Technologies, a company known for pushing the boundaries of innovation in the tech industry. He was Tom Mitchell, the rising star at Morgan Investments, whose charm and business acumen had caught the attention of everyone who mattered in their circles. Their courtship had been a whirlwind that swept Emma off her feet. Dinner dates at exclusive restaurants where Tom would order in perfect French, surprise weekend getaways to coastal towns where they'd walk hand in hand along empty beaches, and countless promises of forever whispered under starlit skies. Tom seemed to anticipate her every need, showing up at her office with her favorite coffee when she was working late, or sending flowers just because it was Tuesday. Emma thought she'd found her perfect match in Tom, a man who seemed to balance ambition with genuine warmth. Even their friends marveled at how perfectly they complemented each other. David, their mutual best friend from college, had been the one to introduce them at a charity gala. He would later joke in his best man speech that it was the best matchmaking he'd ever done. Emma's father James had taken an immediate liking to Tom, impressed by his knowledge of the market and his innovative ideas for expanding Carter Technologies' reach. They moved into a beautiful house in the suburbs, with a garden that Emma lovingly tended while Tom talked about their future children playing there. But slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, things began to change. The notes became less frequent, then stopped altogether. The Sunday morning coffees were replaced by urgent business calls that Tom would take in his home office, his voice carrying through the closed door as he discussed market strategies and investment opportunities. His warm smile, once readily available, became reserved for business associates and clients, while Emma increasingly saw only the tense expression of a man preoccupied with work and finances. The change was so gradual that Emma couldn't pinpoint exactly when their marriage had started to lose its sparkle. It was like watching a beautiful sunset. You know the light is fading, but you can't quite catch the moment when day turns to night. She told herself it was normal, that all marriages go through phases, that Tom's increasing focus on work was just a sign of his dedication to their future. The real trouble began when rumors started circulating about Carter Technologies facing financial difficulties. Emma's father had always been a risk-taker, someone willing to bet big on innovative technologies that could change the world. Usually his gambles paid off, earning him a reputation as a visionary in the industry, but this time things were different. The company's latest project, a revolutionary clean energy solution, had run into serious technical difficulties. The prototype wasn't performing as expected and investors were getting nervous. That's when Tom's behavior really started to change. His questions about her father's company became more frequent, more pointed. He would casually ask about board meetings, about who was visiting the office, about what contracts were being negotiated. The loving husband who had once listened to Emma's worries with patience and understanding now seemed to view every conversation through the lens of business opportunity. Their discussions turned into interrogations and their disagreements evolved into full-blown arguments that would leave Emma emotionally exhausted. Emma noticed other changes too. Tom started having more private phone calls, stepping out of rooms to speak in hushed tones. He began bringing work home more often, spreading papers across their dining room table and growing irritated if Emma asked about them. When they did spend time together, he seemed distracted, his mind clearly elsewhere. One particularly stressful evening, after another heated argument about her father's company, Emma sat on their leather couch with her earphones in, trying to drown out Tom's accusations with music. The argument had started when she mentioned her father's optimism about fixing the prototype's issues. Tom had immediately launched into a lecture about realistic business expectations and the responsibility to shareholders. As she sat there, pretending to focus on her music, That's when she noticed something strange. Something that would eventually lead her down a path she never expected to take. Tom's entire demeanor shifted when he thought she couldn't hear him. His aggressive stance softened, his face relaxed, and he even sat down beside her with what looked like genuine concern. He gestured apologetically, mouthing words she couldn't hear over her music, reaching out to touch her hand with gentle affection. It was as if he was playing to an invisible audience, performing the role of the caring husband she remembered from their early days. The next morning, Emma woke up with another dizzy spell, something that had been happening more frequently due to the stress of their deteriorating relationship. As she steadied herself against the bathroom counter, a crazy idea took root in her mind. What if she could see more of that caring version of Tom? What if she could press pause on their arguments just for a little while? That afternoon she told Tom what would become the biggest lie of their marriage: that her doctor had diagnosed her with a temporary hearing loss due to an inner ear condition. She had planned for it to last just a few days, just long enough to give her some peace from the constant confrontations. What happened next was nothing short of remarkable. Tom's transformation was immediate and dramatic. The man who had been growing increasingly distant and irritable suddenly became attentive and patient. He started learning basic sign language, wrote her sweet notes again, and even stood up to his mother when she made insensitive comments about Emma's condition. Their friends marveled at Tom's dedication. "You're so lucky to have such a supportive husband," they'd text her, while Emma smiled and nodded, communicating through messages and gestures. The guilt of her deception gnawed at her, but the peace and tenderness that had returned to their marriage made it easier to justify each passing day. But living in silence had an unexpected effect. It made Emma more observant of everything around her. She started noticing things she had previously missed or ignored. The way Tom's phone would light up late at night. The hushed conversations he would have when he thought she was asleep. The tension that filled the room whenever her father visited, even though Tom appeared outwardly supportive. As weeks turned into months, Emma's guilt about her deception began to wrestle with her growing suspicions. Why did Tom seem so interested in her father's visitors? Why did he always position himself to see her father's computer screen when he brought work home? And why did he seem almost pleased when news of Carter Technology's struggles became public? Then came that Tuesday evening, 6 weeks into her pretense. It had been a relatively normal day. Emma had been working from home, communicating with her colleagues through email and chat, while Tom had several video calls in his home office. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through their living room windows, Emma realized she'd left her phone in the office. She walked quietly down the hallway, not wanting to interrupt if Tom was still on a call. The office door was partially open, and Tom's voice drifted out into the hallway. He was talking to David, their mutual best friend since college. Emma paused, not wanting to interrupt, but then she heard something that made her blood run cold. "Her father's company is going under, Dave. Everything I've worked for, gone." Tom's voice was filled with bitterness she'd never heard before. "You remember why I married her? The merger was supposed to be my ticket to the top. Now?" He laughed, a harsh sound that seemed to echo in Emma's ears. "I'm stuck with a deaf wife and worthless shares. At least she can't hear me planning my exit strategy." Emma stood frozen, her world crumbling around her. 5 years of marriage, countless memories. All of it had been built on a calculated lie, not her recent deception about her hearing, but Tom's long con of pretending to love her. The irony of discovering the truth through her own deception wasn't lost on her. In that moment, every strange observation from the past few weeks clicked into place. The late-night phone calls weren't about work. They were conversations with lawyers. His sudden interest in her father's business wasn't concern, it was reconnaissance. Even his transformation into the perfect caring husband wasn't genuine. It was guilt, or perhaps just another performance for their friends and family. Emma didn't sleep that night. She lay in bed beside the man she thought she knew, listening to his steady breathing, and wondering how many other lies had been hidden behind his perfect smile. By morning, she had made her decision. She left early, before Tom woke up, but not before placing a single note on their kitchen counter. "I heard everything. Don't worry about the exit strategy. I'm making it easy for you." She had already called her lawyer. In the weeks that followed her departure, Emma learned more about the extent of Tom's deception. Her father's company did eventually overcome its technical difficulties, and the clean energy project became a success. Tom's exit strategy had included plans to sell his shares just before the breakthrough was announced, shares he had acquired through their marriage. But his plans had failed thanks to Emma's discovery of the truth. Looking back, Emma realized that sometimes the greatest deception isn't in the lies we tell others, but in the lies we tell ourselves. She had ignored the signs, dismissed her instincts, and chosen to believe in the performance rather than face the truth. Her pretense of deafness had given her an unexpected gift, the ability to truly listen to what was happening around her. Today, Emma runs a successful division of Carter Technologies, focusing on sustainable energy solutions. She still keeps that last note she left for Tom, not as a reminder of betrayal, but as a testament to her strength. Sometimes, she reflects, we have to lose something we thought we wanted to find what we truly deserve. And as for Tom? The last she heard, he was still working at Morgan Investments, though no longer as the rising star he once was. It turns out that in the business world, just like in marriage, reputation and trust are everything. Once lost, they're almost impossible to regain. In the end, Emma's temporary escape into silence had given her the clarity she needed to hear the truth. Sometimes, she realized, we have to stop listening to what people say to truly understand what they mean. Her marriage had been built on a performance, but she refused to be part of the show anymore.